The current conflict in Ukraine is now into the early part of its second year. This is the conflict that in Europe in the 21st century we really did not expect to be seeing, but here we are 2 years in. Everybody who has been following this news is aware of the fact that there have been some pretty horrendous human rights abuses, actions that go really beyond the expected norms, if I can use that word, of modern warfare, almost barbaric stories that we're hearing. During the early part of the war, the news headlines were dominated by the siege of Mariupol. The Russians had managed to get to the outskirts of Mariupol, but the Ukrainian fighters held them back for a very long period. And the story ended very badly as everybody retreated to Azovstal, where the siege turned into something of a 65-day nightmare. One of the survivors of that horrendous event is with us today to tell a story. Anna Zaytseva managed to escape with her young son. She's now in Germany safely. Her husband, who was serving with the Marine Infantry and who was one of the defenders, one of those incredibly brave defenders, how they managed to do that is an incredible feat. Sadly, her husband was taken prisoner. He's not been heard of since. Anna, it's great to have you with us. We're looking forward very much to hearing your story. Show us your T-shirt there. Let us see that T-shirt.
Yeah.
I'm from Mariupol.
Yeah. Hi, Gary. Thank you for inviting me. So actually, my T-shirt, you see that here there is some words like "I'm from Mariupol," and you see the drama theater. This is one of the most tragic places in Mariupol because Russians bombarded it. It's part of the word "дети," which means in Russian children, and this word was put on the ground in front of the theater. And we had a lot of children there, and Russians practically killed them. I have some friends who were in this drama theater, and they were lucky because they survived, and they told me also this horrible story how it was. And other tragic spot in Mariupol is Azovstal, where I spent 65 days together with my 3-month-old baby. And during that time, my husband was bravely defending the city of Mariupol. And as he told me before, he's still in captivity. It's like around 2 years that he's there, and I don't have any information about him, like he's alive or not. Neither about his brother soldiers.
Мене звуть Анна Зайцева. 24 лютого я з 3-місячним синочком Святославом і з чоловіком Кирилом. Ми сіли на машину, ми поїхали до Азовсталі, до бункера. Після цього просто почалося моє таке особисте пекло. Молоко вже на першому тижні практично мого перебування в бункері воно зникло. За ніч ми знали точно, що 3-4 рази прилетить літак, він там 8-9 випустить бомб.
Хочу, щоб всі, хто побачить це відео, щоб вони допомогли нам зробити цей зелений коридор, щоб ми вийшли звідси.
Кирило вирішив піти до полку Азов, сказав, щоб я його запам'ятала. Я розуміла, що він іде і він вже не має надії повернутися. Останній раз я його бачила 11 березня. 30 квітня прийшли хлопці військові, вони сказали, що є 10 хвилин для того, щоб евакуюватися. Це був перший день, коли я побачила нарешті небо і сонце. Ми зрозуміли, що тепер ми в безпеці, тепер все добре. Я вірю в те, що мій чоловік повернеться. Зараз з ним немає жодного зв'язку, я не знаю, де він, я не знаю, як він. Дуже хочу, щоб ми були в повній сім'ї, так, і щоб у Святославчика ще й була сестричка.
We saw this tragedy unfolding on our TV screens at the time, and I'm thinking about this now, and we would kind of log on to the internet or we'd look at the news and we would see the updates. The image of the facade there that you've shown us became very familiar. But in amongst all of this barbarity, this suffering, I understand one thing which I remember from the story was the dreadful shortage of drinking water. Against this backdrop, you had to carry on with life as usual as it could be, with a 3-month-old son, trying to maybe to inject some normality into the situation if possible, but really being in survival mode all the time. How on earth did you cope with this? What was it like day to day, trying to do the basic things that yourself and your son need? How did you do this?
You know, it was a real challenge for me. I was trying to survive with my baby there, and during 65 days, I was fighting for my right to be alive, and I was doing my best to give my child a chance to survive. And my child is right now alive only due to Mariupol defenders. It was a double challenge for me, like for a human and also like for a mother. First of all, my first problem was that I was ran out of breast milk, as we didn't have a lot of food, a lot of proviant there, and also we had some problems with water supply, because I can say that Azovstal shelters were prepared for such stuff, you know, for the war, but unfortunately, I think nobody's to be stuck there during 65 days, or to be stuck there as with our Mariupol defenders like around 86 days. So, for example, even to have water, you have to go from point A to point B and to take bottles of water from there. But it was so risky, so dangerous, because Russians were constantly bombarding us using different types of weapons like tanks, rockets, area bombs. And I know that to bring me baby formula, there was a special kind of operation which our Ukrainian military provided. They would use a helicopter to bring us food, water, and medicine, and also baby formula for me. I was using metal cup. I was warming up the baby formula in this metal cup and using candles, as we didn't have electricity there. It was also so difficult for us to stay there, because like during 65 days we should be in the shelter with 75 children, with 75 people, and 17 of them were children. I still remember how children were playing the games which are referred to food. I mean, such games like supermarket, or restaurant or cafe, and I remember how they were drawing the food, fruits, vegetables, because they were hungry. And if you ask this time a child, like, what do you want to do, or what do you want to do after we came out of the shelter, the child would say that I want to eat cake. So this is horrible that in 21st century, we still have situations in which our children should hide in the shelters and to stay hungry there.
It is incredible that anybody could get through that, to be quite honest. There's this expression I've heard, the steel motherhood, referring to the women who actually managed to make all these, to make life go on amid this horror. And I mean, had you had any training in this, or was this really learning on the job, as I was say? How do you prepare for such a thing? Nobody could be prepared for such a thing, can they?
You know, I think even if you're in military, it is impossible to be fully prepared for such stuff. It is impossible to be prepared that somebody would like to kill you or your child using rockets, using area bombs. And definitely, I was not thinking about that stuff when I was given a birth 3 months before the Russian invasion. So it was a total nightmare for me, and I just realized that, you know, I had so difficult labor, and I wanted just to do everything to give my child a chance to stay alive. So I was motivated actually by my child. You know, I wanted to do my best, and I think I did.
In all that time, was there any one moment that really stands out in your memory as being the worst? Was there if it's possible to be any worse than day-to-day life. Was there a worse moment, the most frightening moment? Was there such a moment that stands out?
I think the most difficult moment, it was when the first rocket was falling on our shelter. It was so scary because, you know, such noise, and because the pieces of ceiling were falling down, and it seems like the ceiling is about to fall on you, and you are suffocating, and you don't know what to do. But then it is, you know, it is interesting to say this, but we got used to this situation. I can say that the person could get used to everything. And the second worst moment was when we were about to be evacuated. It was, I think, 23 or 25 of April, and Russians put 2 area bombs directly on our shelter. And we were stuck in the shelter, and Ukrainian soldiers, they came to us, and they were about to begin us out. And several days later, we were evacuated successfully. But unfortunately, we didn't go directly to the territory which was under Ukrainian control. We had to pass through this disgusting filtration camp. Actually, Russians, they created filtration camps, and these filtration camps are referred to the concentration camps of the Second World War. And this is so unbelievable, you know, that Russians told me to take off my clothes, and they were checking my body. They were asking about my tattoo, my scars. And actually, this filtration process Russians provided in order to decide to take this person to captivity or let this person go. And they took our phones, and they connected our phones to their laptops, and they downloaded all the information which we had, all the data, without any respect. They were trying to find Nazi symbols, but we know that according to Russian propaganda, even our Ukrainian trident means a Nazi symbol for them. If you're speaking Ukrainian language, it is also a reason to be taken to captivity in Russia. So it was really a horrible experience, which I wish I could never have, but unfortunately it is as it is.
My just a personal experience or observations concerning Ukrainian people, and particularly Ukrainian women, you do tend to be quite feisty, as we would say. A Ukrainian woman tends to be quite a strong personality, quite a determined kind of a person. Do you think that the survival of the victims of this atrocity, do you think that it was some sort of Ukrainian spirit, something internal that actually helped everybody to get through this?
I think the secret of our resilience is in our families, because if you ask a Russian why he or she is fighting, they couldn't answer this question, you know. But if you ask a Ukrainian woman or a man why you are fighting, we are fighting for our families, we are fighting for our motherland, for our home, for our right to be Ukrainian, for our right to speak Ukrainian language, and to live in a free country, and the country with democracy. And I think freedom is genetically, it is in our blood. We always wanted to be free from this Soviet Republic region, which Russians are trying to return nowadays, and to spread it everywhere, even in Europe or USA.
About the filtration camps, I just wanted to go back to that, because you just described there this sort of deciding who will go into the camps, who will be allowed to go, examining everybody. It sounds awful. It's like a scene from Schindler's List or something, isn't it? I mean, and as we said earlier, this is the 21st century. Imagine such things can happen in Europe like this. It is like a scene from Schindler's List that you describe.
Actually, it is like that, you know. And I think that, you know, the problem is that Europe can't understand that it is nowadays in the 21st century in the center of Europe, because Ukraine is geographically Europe. And when I'm telling my story, sometimes people think that, oh no, Ukraine and war in Ukraine is like so far away from us. No, we will never have something like that. Yes, that's true. That, for example, when I was presenting one of the documentary movies in Venice Cinema Festival, I came to Venice, and that's true that it's difficult when you are, for example, in Venice, to imagine that that other kind of worlds exist. The world where people are hungry, where people are in trenches, where people are fighting for their freedom, when children are hiding in the shelters. For example, if you ask our children, even in Kiev, the capital, like what I have to do during the air raid alarm, the child will tell you, like, first of all, you have to take your water bottle, you have to take your blanket, your documents, and you have to go to the shelter. Or if you don't have any other opportunity to go to the shelter, you have to use the rule of 3 walls. So you have to hide yourself, and you have to hide yourself near 3 walls and to be not close to the windows. So such basic rules of surviving are right now for our children there in Ukraine. So it is like essential part of our daily life. I can say that war became a daily routine of Ukrainians.
Have you found, since all this happened, yourself personally, with regard to sort of mental health, would you say you've recovered, or are you still finding yourself on edge? Because this is an incredible experience you describe, and we know PTSD is something which if there are 1 million people suffering, you've got 1 million completely different cases. How is it affecting you? Are you sleeping okay? Does it affect your day-to-day life? Are you yourself again, is what I'm trying to say, now that you're actually in a safe place?
I think war is such an experience after which you can't be the same again, because you were on the edge between life and death. And I think war could just show your real face. I mean, if you are a good person, if you have good qualities, it will give you force to show these qualities. If you have more bad qualities, then it will be the same, you know. You see the real face of people, sometimes ugly, sometimes beautiful. Same with me. I think I can't recover from PTSD in a full way, but I'm doing my best to return my life. I had nightmares, panic attacks. I see also how it influences on my child. He still doesn't speak, and I see how he reacts on huge noise. He puts his hands near his ears in order to protect him. And also his mood is not all the time. He's not all the time in a good mood. I mean, he's all the time waving ups and down. And the same is with me. It is a paradox, but you know, sometimes it's difficult to return from the front line physically. But I think it's most difficult to return from the front line mentally. I mean, to start your civil life. And that's why it is so important, first of all, to find a good psychologist and to be in therapy. What works with me, I like therapy, so the therapy courses. It really helped me to find a new source of inspiration, a new motivation in life. And also, due to Renat Kmetov, we provided a writing project, psychological writing. So we invited psychologists, journalists, military journalists. So she knows the war. She was there. She understands how it is. And this project was in this project we gathered several people, people from military families and also militaries who were on the front line, especially in Mariupol, militaries who were in captivity. And together we were discussing how we can do the storytelling. I mean, the stories of their survival are really amazing, and it's also necessary for them to write it down, because when you write down your thoughts, your trauma, then your trauma becomes your experience. And in such way, we did this project, and we are waiting to publish this book. Because this book, I think, from my perspective of view, is important because it's important for people in Europe and in USA to listen to our stories, the stories of resilience and the stories of survivors.
I want to ask a question about your husband and indeed all of those who have been taken prisoner. Now, as we mentioned, you've had no contact with him. You've heard nothing of his situation since that time. Is everybody in the same boat? Are all of the families who have a man missing, a father, a husband missing, are they all experiencing this? Or do you feel that those particular soldiers, the defenders of Azovstal, do you think maybe they're being picked out, maybe they're being discriminated against? Also a question, the International Red Cross is supposed to be dealing with these things. Have you had any communication with the International Red Cross? Are they helping in any way, do you feel?
I started to communicate with Red Cross when I was in the concentration camp, and I told them my situation. I told them that I'm a rifle, that is a brigade soldier, and I want to do my best to return my husband. At that time, when I was in the concentration camp, my husband was in Azovstal together with his brother soldiers. And okay. Yes, we, the relatives of captured militaries, we are dealing with Red Cross and with different international organizations. But unfortunately, I see that Russia doesn't have any respect, and they don't want to give information of our relatives. We don't know if our relatives are alive or not. We don't know if they have proper access to such ordinary stuff like water, food, medicine supply. Unfortunately, we know for sure that they are tortured there because some of the soldiers who were returned, we can see the consequences of the tortures, and this is horrible. We see that they lost sometimes like 30–40% of their weight. We see the scars, we see the health condition, and this is awful. We, the relatives, we are doing our best. For example, as I do, I'm trying to spread this information about Mariupol defenders, about the fact that they are held in captivity. I'm taking part in different documentary movies.
Supporting Ukraine in such horrible time. I'm here today because of the promise. I promise to Ukrainian soldiers who are right now in captivity to do my best to liberate them. So thank you that you're helping me to keep my promise. Thank you.
Other relatives, they are doing protests in different parts of the world, like New York, Madrid. Every week, practically every week on Sunday, we get used to have a protest in Kiev to remind people about our pain, about that our relatives are still in captivity, they are still in hell. I just wanted to also to say horrible stuff which Russia is doing right now. Like last year, Russia committed a terroristic attack in a Lenivka prison where our soldiers were held, especially the soldier from the Azov Brigade. and more than 50 our soldiers were burned alive. And before that, we know that they were tortured. So as we see, Russia doesn't have any respect to the soldiers, and also even during the war, the rules exist, but Russians don't want to follow even the rules of the war.
What has the government been doing to try to ascertain the situation of the prisoners of war? Obviously, the government's quite busy at the moment, but do you feel that they are doing all that they can through diplomatic channels to try to ascertain the situation of the individual prisoners?
I'm pretty sure that our government is doing their best to win, because this is so difficult, complicated diplomatic process, and it is very harmful if somebody or something could interfere in this. But I'm pretty sure that they are doing their best, because we see that some of our soldiers were liberated. Unfortunately, not all of them, because around 2,000 of them are still in captivity. The problem is that Russian propaganda is so connected with the Azov brigade. So that's why Russians don't want to liberate our relatives, because in such way they could just lose their, let's say, face.
I want to ask you about this project, the Heart of Azovstal. Now, this is a project which has been initiated by Renat Akhmetov. We're familiar with him actually here in Belgium. In Brussels, he's spoken a lot about his foundation, where he's actually been doing a work with veterans for many years, actually. But the Heart of Azovstal is really, as I understand, his project today. Have you had any contact yourself with the Akhmetov organization?
Yeah, I can say that I'm very thankful to Renat Akhmetov for this project, because I see how it helped my friends, militaries who were with me in Azovstal, because this project has like different branches. Me personally, Renat Akhmetov and his team helped to organize the special writing project about which I told you before, like psychological writing for militaries and for their families. And also I see how it works with other militaries. For example, militaries who were in captivity and who became unfortunately right now incapable people of the first or the second group. Right now, Renat Akhmetov provided apartments for them with all the convenience, because the life after the war, when you lose your leg or your arm, is not so easy at all. So this is really a great thing that Renat Akhmetov provided some prosthetics to our militaries, and also he's trying to do some projects for our children. For example, some special summer camps, some camps, where you could also have some psychological rehabilitation and also physical rehabilitation. This is necessary after the war.
Okay.
And also for the militaries who were in captivity, like, could you imagine when you were in captivity, you lost everything? And it is a paradox, but you lost everything, even your phone, your laptop. So Renat Akhmetov provided special digital boxes in which our heroes could find all this necessary new electronic stuff for their daily life.
Okay. Anna, it's been fascinating hearing your story. It's a terrible story. I'm sorry that you've experienced this. I'm sorry that anybody would have to experience this. But you're safe, your son is safe, and we hope that your husband will return safely. We wish you the very, very best. We're very grateful to you for giving this time and for sharing such powerful stories. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Our pleasure.